I didn't realize, don't ask me questions, was the same thing as stop caring. In my head, it was empowerment. Boundaries. Independence. The kind of language you see online. Protect your peace, don't let anyone police you, control is abuse. All packaged into a script that makes you feel righteous even when you're being unfair. So when my boyfriend asked where I was going, I said the line that sounded smart and progressive and untouchable. Stop interrogating me. That's controlling. It's abusive. And the way he reacted should have scared me. He didn't argue. He didn't get defensive. He didn't try to convince me he was one of the good ones. He just nodded slowly and said, okay. I won't ask anymore. Then he actually stopped. And tonight, when I finally begged him to ask. When I finally wanted him to care again. He looked at me like I was asking him to break a promise I made him. He kept his word. And he left me alone with it. Eli and I had been together 2.5 years. We lived together in his apartment. His lease, his furniture, his nice organized kitchen where the spice rack is labeled like a grown adult lives there. Eli is calm in a way I used to brag about. He never gets jealous. I'd tell my friends like it was a flex. He trusts me. And he did. He trusted me like a man who doesn't want a relationship to feel like surveillance. If I went out, he'd say simple things. Text me when you get there. Be safe. Do you need a ride? Not in a controlling way. In a love way. But somewhere along the line, my brain started translating care into criticism. If he asked about my plans, I heard, where are you really going? If he asked what time I'd be home, I heard, you better not embarrass me. If he asked who I was with, I heard, you're probably lying. That wasn't Eli. That was my own guilt and restlessness projecting onto him like a movie. I'd been feeling bored. Bored with routine, bored with predictability, bored with a man who was simply good to me without making me fight for it. And boredom is dangerous when you're immature, because you start chasing stimulation and calling it self-discovery. The attention problem started at my job. We hired a new account lead named Devin. Funny, confident, flirty in that way that's never explicit, but always intentional. He'd hover at my desk a little too long. He'd compliment me like it was casual. Your energy is different, he said one day. You don't seem like you're fully appreciated, he said another. I should have shut it down. I didn't. Because compliments from a stranger feel like proof that you're still desirable in a way your boyfriend's constant love stops feeling like after a while. I never slept with Devin. I never kissed him. But I started feeding the vibe. Smiling too much, replying faster than necessary, wearing outfits I knew would get me noticed on days I'd see him. Eli noticed my shift before I admitted it. You've been on your phone more lately, he said one night, not accusing. Observing. I snapped, so now you're monitoring me? Eli blinked. No. I'm talking. I rolled my eyes. You're always analyzing me. Eli went quiet like he was choosing his next words carefully. I'm not analyzing you, he said gently. I'm trying to stay connected. That should have softened me. Instead, it annoyed me. Because connection is hard when you're drifting on purpose. Then came the weekend that started the abuse line. My friends planned a girls' night. Club, dinner, the whole we deserve this routine. I told Eli in passing while doing my makeup. We're going out, I said. Eli glanced up from the couch. Okay. Where? The question was normal. Casual. Even polite. But I had already decided I wanted him to be the villain, because villains justify your selfishness. So I heard his question like a trap. Why do you need to know? I snapped. Eli's eyebrows lifted slightly. Because I'm your boyfriend. And I'm picking you up later if you want. I'll Uber, I said quickly. Eli nodded once. Okay. What time do you think you'll be home? I felt that heat rise. The impulse to turn his care into an accusation. God, I laughed. I don't know. Whenever. Eli's jaw tightened a fraction. I'm not trying to control you. I just like knowing you're safe. And I delivered the line like a weapon. This is controlling. It's abusive. Stop interrogating me. Silence. Eli stared at me for a long moment. Not angry. Not offended. Just recalibrating. Then he said the sentence that changed everything. Okay. I blinked. Okay. Eli nodded slowly. Okay. I won't ask anymore. I felt a weird rush. Like I'd won. I grabbed my purse and said, smug, good. And I left. That night, my friends and I went out and the attention felt like oxygen. Devin was there. Of course he was. Because the universe loves giving you temptation right after you light your own fuse. He spotted me and smiled like we had a secret. You look insane, he said, leaning in. I smiled back, and it felt like rebellion. My phone buzzed. Eli, have fun. Be safe. That was it. No, where are you? No, who's there? No, what time are you coming home? And instead of feeling relieved, I felt disappointed. Because I didn't just want freedom. I wanted him to care in a way that made me feel powerful. I didn't say that out loud, but my behavior screamed it. I stayed out later than usual. I posted a story with loud music and flashing lights. I let Devin stand too close in a selfie angle where it looked like we were together. I checked my phone, waiting for Eli to react. Nothing. At 2:10 a.m., I texted him, home soon. He replied, okay. No tension. No questions. Just okay. I came home at 3 a.m. And the apartment was dark and quiet. Eli was asleep. Actually asleep. Not waiting on the couch. Not worried pacing. Not checking his phone. That should have been healthy. It felt like rejection. Over the next 2 weeks, Eli kept his promise. He stopped asking. Not just about nights out. About everything. If I said, I'm meeting Maya, he'd nod. If I left the apartment, he'd say, drive safe. If I came home late, he'd say, hey, and go back to what he was doing. At first, I told myself I liked it. Then I realized what it actually was. He wasn't giving me space. He was detaching. You can feel it when someone detaches. It's subtle. The house gets quieter. The warmth evaporates. They stop initiating small touches. They stop offering help. They stop seeking your attention. Eli still treated me respectfully. But I was no longer the center of his emotional world. And I couldn't handle it. So I did the dumbest thing possible. I escalated. I started going out more. Staying out later. Not as a lifestyle. Like a test. I'd come home and watch him carefully for a reaction. He didn't give me one. One night I came home at midnight, and he was in the kitchen meal prepping like a man who had peace. I leaned against the counter and said, casually, "You don't even ask where I've been." Eli didn't look up. "You told me not to." I laughed, sharp. "So you just don't care?" Eli finally looked up. His expression was calm but tired. "I care," he said. "I'm just respecting what you called a boundary." I felt my chest tighten. "You're supposed to want to know." Eli held eye contact. "No. I'm supposed to not be abusive, right?" That sentence hit me like ice. Because he wasn't yelling. He was agreeing with me. An agreement is brutal when you were using a word as a threat, not a truth. The final night. Tonight. Started as another test. Devin invited a group from work to a lounge downtown. I told Eli I was going out, grabbed my coat, and lingered in the doorway like a teenager waiting for permission. Eli looked up from the couch. "Okay. Have fun." That was it. No question. No concern. No text me. My stomach turned. I went anyway, irritated and restless. At the lounge, Devin bought me a drink and leaned in close. "You're always out now," he said. Single girl energy. I laughed because it felt validating. But it also felt true in a way that made my throat tighten. Around 10:30 p.m., Devin asked if I wanted to go somewhere quieter. I didn't. I swear I didn't. But the fact that I'd put myself in that position at all was the proof of what I was doing. I said, "No, I'm good," and I left early. Because suddenly, I didn't want attention. I wanted home. I wanted Eli. I walked into the apartment expecting something. A question. A glance. A hint of relief. Eli wasn't on the couch. I heard movement in the bedroom. Then I saw the front closet open. His side emptying. My heart stopped. I stepped into the doorway and saw him packing a duffel bag. Not angry packing. Quiet packing. Efficient packing. "Eli." I whispered. He didn't jump. He didn't freeze. He just kept folding. "What are you doing?" I asked. Eli's voice was calm. "Leaving." My stomach dropped. "Why?" Eli looked up at me, eyes steady. "Because I don't recognize us anymore." I panicked instantly, voice rising. "So now you're punishing me?" Eli shook his head. "No. I'm choosing myself." I stepped closer. "This is because I went out." Eli's gaze didn't move. "It's because you wanted me to worry so you could feel important." "That's not true," I snapped automatically. Eli nodded slowly. "Okay." That "okay" made me shake. "Eli," I said, "softer, please. We can talk." Eli zipped the duffel and stood. "We did talk." "You didn't even try," I said, desperate. "You're not even fighting." Eli's eyes softened for half a second, and that softness made me reach for my old tool. Contempt. "You know what?" I hissed. "You're proving my point. You don't care. You're just weak." Eli's face hardened slightly. Not into rage, into clarity. "No," he said quietly. "I'm finally strong enough to leave a dynamic that makes me feel crazy for being normal." I swallowed. "Eli, I didn't mean." Eli cut me off gently. "I know what you meant. You meant, chase me. Worry about me. Prove you want me." Tears spilled. "I just wanted you to care." Eli nodded once. "I did care. Then he said the line that ended me. And you called it abuse. I froze. Eli continued, calm and final. I'm not going to spend my life walking on eggshells, afraid that basic questions make me a villain. I reached for him. I'll stop saying that. Eli stepped back. It's not just the words. It's the disrespect. He walked past me into the living room. I followed him, sobbing. Where are you going? Eli put on his shoes, grabbed his keys, and looked at me like he was saying goodbye to a version of me he had loved. I'm going somewhere I'm allowed to be human, he said. I whispered, are you breaking up with me? Eli nodded once. Yes. My chest tightened. Over this? Eli's voice stayed even. Over the way you used language to avoid accountability. Then he held up his phone, tapped twice, and my phone buzzed immediately. A notification, location sharing ended. Then my texts stopped delivering. I stared at the screen like it was a nightmare. You blocked me. I whispered. Eli didn't smirk. He didn't gloat. He just said, I'm respecting your boundary. No more questions. And he left. The door clicked shut. I stood in the hallway shaking, staring at the door like it might reopen. It didn't. I called his phone. Straight to voicemail. I sent a text. Green bubble. Not delivered. Then the cruelest part. I remembered the apartment was his. My name wasn't on the lease. I had spent months acting like I was untouchable in a home that legally wasn't mine. I sat on the couch and felt the silence swallow me. And for the first time, I understood the difference between control and love. Love asks where you are because it cares if you're safe. Control asks where you are because it wants to own you. Eli was doing love. I called it abuse. So he stopped. And now I'm alone in the exact freedom I thought I wanted. Without the man who gave it to me responsibly. That's how he won. Not by yelling. By taking my words seriously and refusing to play a game where he had to prove his love through anxiety. My remarks. Hey guys, thanks for watching. She weaponized therapy speak. Calling basic check-ins abuse. Because she wanted control and a jealousy reaction. He won by agreeing, stopping the behavior entirely, detaching, and leaving clean once he realized she wanted him anxious, not connected. If you tell someone not to ask, don't be shocked when they stop. Calm boundaries beat chaos every time. Subscribe. More tomorrow.